There were renewed clashes between Kurdish forces and their Islamic State opponents in the Syrian border city of Kobani today. ISIS militants fired at least 4 mortar shells into the city this morning and blew up a pair of car bombs. It's believed U.S.-led airstrikes have helped slow ISIS efforts to take the town, which has been under attack since mid-September. However, at least one building in the center of your picture here appeared to be flying the ISIS black flag. In Istanbul, hundreds of people held banners and flags with the face of a man who died in the fighting in Kobani. The protesters gathered in Istanbul to demand support from the government for Kurdish fighters in the battle against ISIS. And joining us now from Bridgeport, Connecticut is Robert Riggs. He's a Middle East expert with the University of Bridgeport. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Do you think Turkey's government will respond to protesters in Istanbul?
Well, yes, I do think they will, but if you mean that they will respond to their demands in the affirmative, I doubt it. I think that their track record of dealing with protesters is usually using water cannons and tear gas. So I'm not optimistic about the Turkish government's listening to the demands of these protesters for a number of reasons.
What consequences would there be for Turkey if Kobani should fall to ISIS?
Well, that's a really good question. Kobani, because it's on the border with Turkey and because Turkey shares this very long border with Syria, having that border town fall could cause, an influx of fighters into Turkey. Now, the chances of ISIS challenging the Turkish army are slim, I think. Turkey is a strong state, with an organized, well-trained army. But the other possibility, of course, is that if certain fighters infiltrate major metropolitan areas in Turkey and set off bombs or cause other types of disruptions, that could have an effect. And not to mention the fact that the fall of Kobani symbolically deals a blow to Kurdish independence or movements for autonomy and self-governance inside Turkey and also in Syria, and that could have widespread implications as well.
Are you surprised to see that Turkey still hasn't gotten involved?
Not really. Erdogan said that unless NATO and the U.S. and other allies that are pushing him to be involved in this fight against ISIS, unless they're willing to set up a security zone and a no-fly zone in Syria and also commit to the fall of President Assad in Syria, he's not going to get involved. And it seems almost like a non-starter demand because the allies have clearly stated that their goal is to get rid of ISIS first, not to topple the regime of Assad.
Can airstrikes alone help Kurdish forces regain Kobani and keep ISIS at bay?
Not alone, but what's been happening over the last several weeks is that 2 or 3 weeks ago everyone was calling that the Kobani was going to fall, its fall was imminent. Well, it's still standing, and the reason for that is this dramatic increase in airstrikes in coordination with forces on the ground. These targeted airstrikes are hitting caravans of ISIS Humvees and tanks that were captured from the Iraqi army. They're striking specific buildings. They struck the mountain near Kobani where the ISIS fighters had placed their kind of flag symbolically. So the targeted airstrikes in coordination with forces on the ground is what seems to be rolling back ISIS in Kobani so far.
All right, Robert Riggs, Middle East expert with the University of Bridgeport. We thank you so much for your time and expertise.
Thank you.